Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Backstage Bimbo TV. My name is Allison Rouse, your most notorious groupie and author of We've Got Tonight, The Life and Times of Notorious Groupie. Me. That's right. Welcome back to everybody who's subscribing, everybody who's just joining me. Really great to meet new people through the comments. Thank you so much for everybody being cool. So, welcome back to this week's Rocky Talkie, midweek episode about different things in my life, and this time we are going to talk about the second time I lived in Seattle. Because Seattle's an awesome place, and both times I was there during the big grunge years. The first time when it was burgeoning, the second time knee deep into it. And to celebrate, we're going to go to the same cocktail we did for the first one, the Emerald City. So everybody, grab your rupee slippers, kick them up, and let's have a little rocky talkie, shall we? Cheers, big ears. Ooh. Super sweet. If you like that, you'll like this drink. Ooh. If you don't like it, grab whatever you want. Let's just sit back, have a drink, and have a talk. All right. So, the end of an era happened. You knew that Salt Lake City, that we were going to go sooner or later. We were ladies who wanted to really stay in Salt Lake City. We wanted to go out and explore the world. We had seen enough of it with rock bands. Danny and I had tried to, that first move to Seattle that didn't work out, and I always wanted to go back. Well, Kristen had an aunt living up there, so when she went to Seattle for New Year's Eve for a few weeks, she met a guy. Oh, she fell head over heels in love with him. So in love. So that when she came back down, she wanted to move to Seattle too. We never even thought, until the day we left, we never even thought about what that really meant. Because, like I said, Danny had moved out to California with her musician boyfriend. Davini had moved back up to be with her boyfriend. And now Kristen met hers, and I was the last single one. Well, his best friend and he were roommates. And Kristen knew I wanted to move back to Seattle, and she was wanting to move to Seattle now. So we found this really awesome house. Jeff and Dion. Dion was Kristen's boyfriend, and Jeff was his roommate, best friend, who was a hot little blonde guitar player. We had to have the hose turned on us by Kristen and Dion because we found each other very attractive. They said there's not going to be any of that stuff. We didn't go all the way, but we got damn near close. So there's not going to be any of that stuff because you guys are roommates. But why? I mean, it's convenient and he's hot. Why not? You'll find out later exactly why not. So, after 2 crazy wild weeks full of a different band of Everyday Lotion from New York City, Typo Negative, our own going away party with a bunch of smaller bands like Mozart, and I can't even remember who. I'll have to go through my passes and stuff. We had an incredibly wild last 2 weeks in Salt Lake City. Like, sent that groupie scene off with a literal bang or 4. At least one in Kristen's car. So we pull out that day. We kind of stop. We loaded up the moving truck, which we paid to have moved. We get in Kristen's car, and because I got rid of mine, I'm like, I'll just get a new one when I get up there. So get in Kristen's car, and we just kind of did one last rounds around the hotels like we used to go meet the bands. Then we got on the freeway, and that was it. That was the end of the last great groupie scene in the history of rock and roll. So this is 1994 when I moved up there the second time. So you can see that run was more than a decade, almost a decade that we had in our cushy little Salt Lake City, where we had our boys at our fingertips doing whatever we wanted because it was so private and it was our own little hedonism, private Idaho thing, So with that, and a lot of the bands knew that we were moving up there. We told a lot of them the last 4 months we were in Salt Lake City, and yes, we were still hanging out, and Kristen was still hanging out, even though she was being faithful to her boyfriend. But she did have a last hurrah or two, and that was her right to do. So, We get up to Seattle, get moved into this beautiful house. It sat on the hill, so it was kind of a split level. It had a living room, a bedroom, and a bathroom and the laundry room downstairs. You go upstairs, there's another living room, the dining room, beautiful kitchen, two more bedrooms, and a bathroom. And Kristen and Dion's bedroom and my bedroom were upstairs, and it was connected by a closet, which is kind of uncomfortable. So that kind of created some tension because we all kind of had to walk on eggshells for that. But then you had this beautiful backyard. We had like vegetable garden growing up in one level, and then the second level was this beautiful like flowers and trees where we had, you know, picnic setting and stuff. Seemed beautiful. Got a job at downtown Deja Vu, easy peasy. I was a stripper. I knew I could go get a job. Started working immediately, and of course, immediately started hanging out with bands because one of the bands that was there was Typo Negative, who was part of our last great 2 weeks in Salt Lake City, and they knew we were going to be there. So it was. Kristen and I went up briefly and went back down, and it was like I said, it wasn't the same because obviously she's a good woman and she's faithful to her boyfriend. So she was being a good girl, and I had to be a good girl with her. Well, time progresses. This is where I meet Jana, the one who I had the vendetta against when I fucked Steve Jones. Yep. And she came into my life because she started dancing at downtown Deja Vu. And one day, she just showed up there one day, and she was in the dressing room and kept nodding off. Nodding off. Big sore on her because she picked, and this is a sign of heroin, and I had noticed it because I noticed it from Dave. So I tried to be nice to her because nobody else was being nice to her. And she just was living off $10 a day, lived in this 12-bedroom house that was a heroin dealer and his customers pretty much. It was basically a squat house, but it was they actually paid rent to live there on these dirty mattresses and stuff. So I was like, no, you can't be living here. Helped her get out of there and get a little, weekly at the Moore Hotel, which is a common place downtown when you're in transition to go, and not like homeless people and stuff, but a lot of people like her kind of type of thing. So got her, paid for the room for the month, just to get her out. And was a really good friend to her, was always there because she didn't always make a lot of money because, like I said, she was kind of heroin. She wasn't very pretty and had this weird body. She had 2 kids, stretch marks, don't know where the kids were, but had this certain thing about her personality that she could just charm any guy. And it was so weird. So weird because, like I said, she was one of those camis, the frenemies, that she would try and one-up everybody. She was fun. And I say this because I doubt this woman's even alive right now because she's the one, if you've ever been onto my website, and I will vlog this, she's the one that Jerry Cantrell took a dump on after having sex with. And not that he had ever seen her, he just got a phone call. But anyway, that's a whole nother vlog. So this is where Jana comes in. Jana would be the straw that kind of would break Kristen and I's friendship back. Because, you move up to Seattle. Kristen's faithful to her boyfriend, but here I am. Not a huge groupie scene there. The groupie scene consisted of all the women who were supporting the up-and-coming grunge rock stars. It was kind of like LA at the end of the 80s where any band like Warrant could get signed, all the crappy Z-listers that killed the awesome 80s. So this is kind of what Seattle vibe was at the time. Same thing. All these women who are strippers supporting their starving rock star boyfriends. See, very, very similar to Seattle and LA. And of course, being groupie from the actual road in the real world, we never supported our boyfriends because our boyfriends were rich rock stars. So we had no need to. So this is kind of the scene at the moment. So no groupie scene. I already know most of the rock stars coming up for the shows. Done. Easy peasy just to step right into my groupie shoes. There. Strapping on my groupie boots, hitting them on a new scene, and making a scene out of it. And for a long time, not a long time, but for a few months, Jana and I were great friends who hung out on this scene together and had a blast. An absolute blast. We would just do a lot of things together. Sometimes I would stay the night at her place because I didn't want to go back to my house over in West Seattle because things were getting so tense between Kristen and I. She's not doing this. I'm still getting these phone calls. I didn't realize Jeff, our other roommate, had actual feelings for me and liked me as much as he did and wanted to date me when we went there. I would just kind of was like, well, right, we're roommates, we can't date. So there's tension there because I'm going out, and I had a couple guys come and stay with me. One of them who wrote a song about it. So, all this is creating that tension between Kristen and I because she can't live that lifestyle anymore. And there was a few other things that kind of broke this straw. We had a pact that because Jeff was in a band, and if he was traveling with his band, and because I traveled to dance and with musicians and stuff, and if Kristen and Dion wanted to travel, we would all pay full rent and bills to keep our place in the home. And I was doing that because I had met another girl, Andrea. You guys know her, Onyx. In the original book, I did change her name back to Andrea. Onyx was her stage name. We're still great friends to this day. I love this girl to death. After Jana, because there was a falling out with Janet on a Christmas, I had gone back down to visit family in Salt Lake, as I always did. Never missed a holiday at home. Jana had nowhere to go, so since Kristen and Dion and Jeff were staying home, I was like, can she come over and have Christmas dinner? Because I don't want her sitting alone in this weekly hotel, just this old, and it was right next to the Moore Theater. It was like really, truly old with the clawfoot tubs, a beautiful place, but just old school. And Krista had met Jana a couple times because she had come over to the house, so she said, yeah, sure. This is me being kind. While I was away, the tension kind of came to a head. Like I said, Jana was the frenemy and liked to fuck with everybody and anybody's kindness and happiness. And this is why Steve Jones became my vendetta, because she was the one that couldn't fuck Steve Jones no matter how hard she tried, which if you can't fuck Steve Jones, you must be just gross as fuck, right? Steve saw right through her. So all they do is Jana starts talking shit. Dion doesn't like me much, so he kind of gains in it, and Kristen's kind of caught in the middle. So by the time I get home, it just because of all the tension before that, and Jana made up a bunch of lies of stuff that I said that I never said, and Kristen believed it. So straw that broke the camel's back. And this is a woman, Jana, that I was helping. Like when she couldn't pay her rent at that place, I didn't want her going back onto heroin. I helped her get off heroin, at least by giving her weed so she wouldn't shoot up. And she wasn't shooting up, and she got off heroin during that time. And this is how I was thanked by her. So of course I was going to go fuck Steve Jones just to get back at her. I was thanked by her insecurity, her jealous, and her fucking with a 10-year friendship. So met Andrea and I started kind of hitting the road, accidentally went on tour. Well, no, that was Jana and I. We accidentally went on tour with Sepultura. If the band says, come with me to the hotel, make sure it's in the same state or city. It's not across on the other side of the state. Not fun going on tour without a toothbrush. Yeah. Anyway, so all this confusion is going on. I just, fuck you, Jana. You take care of your own self. I cut ties with her. Andrea and I started hanging out. We had a really great time hanging out. She had no motivation, no jealousy. We just were great friends. And that's where Andrea comes in the picture, So I was lucky to meet at least one really amazing friend that I have awesome, many, many adventures with, that was there with me the night I met Vinny, and she had an 8-year relationship with Mikey Inez, and because of her I would go to the Alice in Chains recording studio after that because she was dating Mikey Inez. And so I got to meet this incredible, awesome lady, Andrea, that I still love to death. Hey lady, I'm looking up your dress. Oh God. And we were gonna go to Greece together and stuff, but I ended up going to Alaska and dancing because in Seattle the laws dictate everything a stripper can do, even how much you can charge. And by law, they really can't do that, but nobody had questioned it at the time because we are independent contractors. That's like saying somebody, one of the fish retailers or the buskers or one of the companies over at independent companies at the Pike Street Market can charge, or what they can do or not do. So they cannot do this to independent contractors. Strippers, listen up to this. You are an independent contractor. You pay to work there. You are getting booth rent. Basically, if you're a hairdresser, it's what they call booth rent. So basically, Seattle law said that we could only charge $5 for a table dance or $10 for a lap dance. Now, as a stripper, we were paying $50 a night to work there plus $5 out of every dance. Not the table, just the couches. So I am worth a hell of a lot more than $5 a dance, and so is every other stripper there. And because we knew it, and because the owner, Deja Vu, knew it, he told us, you by law can charge what you want. So everybody generally charged $50 a lap dance. That's your average anywhere in the United States at the time. And especially Deja Vu. Because Deja Vu, Harry Mahoney, owns about 80% of the strip clubs around the world. Not kidding. So Harry, we were doing that, and one night I was dancing for this guy. And also in Seattle, you can only be absolutely totally nude on the stage. When you are giving a lap dance, you have to have your bikini top and a thong back that measures a certain amount across the front and around the back. I mean, they measure this shit. Like in Salt Lake City at the time as well. Had this same law. So they get a bunch of guys coming in. You know, it's a Friday night. We're busy, cool, gonna make some money. One of the first guys I danced to is this fat kind of Santa Claus looking guy. He says, so I tell him, I said, I do charge $50 a dance, but I will grind because we were supposed to be 6 inches away. I will flash you my breasts, you know, whatever. Just do a normal lap dance, but according to Seattle law, this is illegal. And so is what I'm charging. So about 6 of us were dancing for a bunch of guys. We all go into the dressing room, and then all of a sudden one of the other dancers comes sneaking in, and she's like, oh my God, there's cops. They're raiding us. Yeah, they were motherfucking raiding us. I had danced for one of the cops. So had 5 other girls. So 6 of us went to jail for being nude in a totally nude club. They could not charge us for anything we did during the dance because we are independent contractors and they have no legal right to dictate how we run a business outside of prostitution, which none of this was prostitution at all. So I accepted money for an illegal act and being nude, which was my illegal act was grinding and flashing, you know, grinding on the guy's lap and flashing my tits. Deja Vu's lawyers took care of all of us. And we went to jail that night. Like, we had a crazy night in jail. Like, one of the girls farted in the damn paddy wagon. And the cops who were taking us to jail, like, I was so lucky because I had weed in my locker because we would smoke weed in the dressing room. And I just grabbed my clothes and just sort of hid my purse and didn't even take my purse and handed my purse off to Andrea and Jana. It was like, just take the purse, you know, hide it, whatever. Bring it to me when I get out. And so when we got out the next morning, we were in jail with like this white lady who was forging stuff, this girl Dorothea who was there all the time because she was pushing poor white girl off the bench saying, this is my bench. And when they came in to call her to go, you know, do whatever, get booked, we didn't wake her ass up. Then there was the other crazy crack lady who she would like nod off, do a rollover off the bench, get up, go to the payphone because they had a payphone in the holding cell. And she would call her, I'm in Gale. Come and get me out of Gale. I mean, this is crazy. I've never been to jail in my life before since. So I'm like, okay. And then there was another white girl. So here's 6 of us strippers. One of them who just farted in the van. The cops are like, woo, you says it smells like roses. Oh, Lordy, she did not. Kelly. Don't fart in paddy wagons. So after a couple court dates, you know, and the Deja Vu hired lawyers for us, Seattle couldn't do anything, so they said, okay, we'll just do this. 3 months with nothing else on your record, because they knew that Deja Vu was going to drag it out and that Harry Mahoney and had enough money for the lawyers to drag it out for years. So they said 3 months, nothing more on your record, it's expunged. This is the one time in my life I've been to jail. So it got expunged because I went to Alaska and danced for 3 months. So first I have Jana that broke the camel's back, that already created more tension in my household. Then keep in mind that we all said we're paying full rent and bills to keep our place in the house. And I was in Alaska for 3 months, paying full rent and bills. got off my record, came down, went back to work at Deja Vu. Someone said, hey, they opened a strip club in Las Vegas. You should go down. This is how I get to Vegas. Was because of Seattle. So as I came down, and nobody told me this while I was in, Kristen and Dion were having problems because he was just an asshole. She finally admitted it. And we're having problems. Well, she had got a job at a high-end caretaking old folks home, which was kind of more of a private home. She was there 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week, and only at our house 3 nights a week. And was paying less rent and bills because she wasn't there as much. And I'm sorry, Kristen, I love you to death. This is just what happened, that from my side of the story that took us, and we both have sides of the story, that took us to our fork in the road, that ended our friendship for 10 years and ended the Salt Lake City Welcoming Committee and the Salt Lake City Sisters. This was a huge thing in rock and roll because Salt Lake City was now a ghost town for groupies. And the last of the great well-known groupies just went their separate ways because of stuff. And this was because of what, Dion said, because it's just not fair. It wasn't fair. So I was planning to move out anyway when, like I said, someone said, yeah, they opened up a new club in Las Vegas. And Harry Mahoney, the owner, was in Seattle at the time. And he's like, I want you to go down there. I said, okay. I said, let him know I'm coming. And Jacksonville will tell you this. I called that strip club so many times before I went down there. So I had gone to Alaska from April, May, June to June. By July of 3 weeks after I got home, not even 3 weeks, I was gone. And that was that. Andrea came down. I never went back, which is a bummer because if Jana is still alive, this is how she found out that I fucked Steve Jones. Bitch. And I have every right to say that because we all, again, this was my Seattle frenemy who just had to destroy everybody else and didn't care what the consequences were. And the consequences were the last of the great groupie era. And the Salt Lake City Welcoming Committee disbanding and going their separate ways for a decade. Yep. So that was my second time in Seattle. I'll vlog more about Soundgarden and all the cool bands because by the time I moved to Seattle, I already knew My Sister's Machine had already hung out with Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, of course, and Eddie Vedder. And so I knew all these people and I knew where to hang out, at the Brick Street or the Practice Pads Unlimited or wherever to go. So I was already kind of immersed into the rock scene and made a whole new groupie scene in Seattle when there was none. When all the girls were too busy, my boyfriend's in a local band and they're going to be the next Nirvana. No, honey, just like Warrant was not the next Motley Crue. That never happened. So, not a great groupie scene, but I made one, and in the long run, made an awesome new friend that I love to this day, but lost a really amazing friend that I love to this day. That 10, 15 years ago, we got back in contact and we rekindled our friendship. And I'm so happy because there's a lot I missed out of Kristen's life, but I don't want to miss anymore. So we both let bygones be bygones because, like I said, there's 2 sides to every story, and this is just mine. So one day I got on a plane. No idea what I was doing except going to work at Little Darlings in Las Vegas. And I never looked back. I didn't even go back to get my stuff. My mom did, and her best friend. Only time I went back was the next time I was up there was during the first Sex Pistols reunion tour when I was there to see Steve Jones, which will be another vlog. So there you go. It's kind of sad that Kristen and I had that falling out, that the tension created what happened, but at the same time, it's just part of our life path. And like I said, I love her dearly. I mean, no disrespect to Kristen because she's awesome. You guys will hopefully see her soon. We've tried to do a Zoom vlog, but every time I recorded it, there was either no sound or her picture or my picture. I'm not that technologically intelligent, so as we can tell here. But anyway, so yeah, that is the end of the last great groupie scene in Salt Lake City. Krista and I moved to Seattle, then our friendship ended, but I kept it going because that was my path. My path has kept me in rock and roll, and little did I know that when I moved to Las Vegas that I would become part of Las Vegas history. I had left one world, and this was my first time I'm really my own without family, but like I said, Kristen was like family, and unfortunately the tension that her boyfriend was creating, that Jana was creating, that the fact that she couldn't go out with me to do everything we had done together, it just had us go our separate ways. And that was okay. That was okay. Like I said, she's awesome. She lives in LA now, folks. And like I said, if you guys share and subscribe, get me out there, because I need more people, because what I'm trying to do is sell the rights to the book. And if I do that, then Kristen, Danny, Davany, Andrea, Cousin Amy, they all are going to become head writers for their characters, and they get to tell their sides of the stories. So we get to expand this, and you get to hear every side of the story and things that happened to them and that they did on their own, because Danny kept things going for years down in California and Florida for herself and back in Salt Lake City. So yeah, hit the subscribe, hit the share, hit the like, and hit the bells, and you can hear more Cocktails and Rocktails, Rocky Talkies, because like I said, next stop, Las Vegas. Got a one-way ticket to Las Vegas, didn't look back, because that's how I do. Once I'm on that plane, proverbially or actually, I go. I'm gone. I don't look back. But I do like looking back and having fun with my past and stuff, and I'm glad you guys are too. So thank you again to everybody who's joined up. Be looking for more Kristen, more Jana, more rock and roll with awesome Andrea, and a lot of other things to come. See you guys on the flip side. Cheers, big ears.